Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode in Governor's Hero Review Series. In this one we're going to be looking at the Hero of the Month for October 2021, which is Lupita. So this video is super late and I'm really sorry about that to those of you that do wait on these videos. I apologize, I have been really busy in real life and I've been trying to catch up on other PC stuff in the background, which is all skewed as a result of the mass buffs that SGG did in the start of October. So I've caught up on most of it, and I am confident I can do this video justice. So we will crack into the review, in which we're going to be looking at Lupita. We're going to look at her card, her stats, her special skill, her class, emblem, talent tree, and compare her to some other similar heroes that exist in puzzle combat. There will, as always, be a short review of the October weapon of the month, which is at the end of the video. I have chaptered the entire video, so if you want to skip forward or backwards, just jump down into the description and you can click forward or backwards as you need to. It's all chaptered there, just for your ease of access. As always, if you find these sort of videos helpful, please do swing it a like and share it around with your alliance mates and friends. It really does sort of help with my content creation, knowing what is and isn't useful, as well as that sort of stuff does feed into the YouTube algorithm and it does help me and my channel out. So I do appreciate any help that you guys can give me. Subscribes are even better because they help you get access to my content real quick, but it also feeds into that algorithm again. So I do appreciate any help, but that is enough self-promotion for now and for this video. So I'm going to get back to the focus of the video, which is Lupita. So if we open her up, she is a 5-star red spy class hero with the title, a masked assassin. So if we check out her zoomed image, she does have some very assassin-like characteristics. So she's got a mask there, which sort of looks like a death mask, I guess. There is a crap load of knives there. I can count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on her left hip. I'm assuming an equal number on her right hip. So that's 10 plus the 2 in each hand, so at least 12 daggers. The whole assassin thing is kind of a little bit ruined by wearing a bright red skirt, but, you know, it doesn't really help with staying hidden and undetected to make stealthy assassin-like kills. But, yeah, there are also, I just noticed, some very massive platform heels that she's wearing. I have no idea what's going on with that. I wouldn't have thought that an assassin would need platform heels. In fact, I thought it would be pretty detrimental, but, you know, those are there and they are really quite thick. So yeah, we've started showing each month the animation. So I've started trying to do this each time for the hero. So this month is no different. I've managed to get Lupita, so I'll just bring it up and show it. So we'll target and fire. And there you have it. We'll just wait 1 turn out and show. There you go. You can see the healing that she gains as well. So that is Lupita's special skill animation. It does feature her same death mask. That is something I do like with the animations in puzzle combat. They are actually fairly unique to the hero, rather than in Empires and Puzzles where a lot of the animations are similar or variants of each other. So it is kind of cool for the puzzle combat ones, and don't mind that animation. But yeah, we'll crack on with the review. So if we get back to her card itself, so if we break it down and have a look at her base stats, we can see that she's got 728 attack, 657 defense, and 1,365 HP. So if we look at those numbers in comparison to all of the other heroes we can get in puzzle combat, particularly the 5-star heroes, it is actually quite skewed towards her attack stat. So you can kind of see that just by looking at the stats. The attack is quite a lot larger than her defense stat. So her attack stat is actually in the top 15% of heroes in the game at the moment. But because that attack stat is so elevated, her defense and HP stats are fairly diminished in order to compensate for that and balance it all out. So her defense is actually in the bottom 40%, and her HP is in the bottom 20% of the heroes in the game. So very oriented towards attacking, which is great for some applications, but yeah, we'll see later on that it doesn't really make sense with her character build, but we'll get to that in a minute, or several minutes actually. So if we check out her special skill, or at least her charge speed, we can see that it is set to 62, which puts her in the 9 tiles to charge bracket of the quote-unquote fast charge speed. So this is a kind of a cool bracket, because if we equip just a +3 speed gun to her, we can reduce that from a 9 tiles down to 8 tiles to charge her. So you can do that with a completely unleveled copy of the Tigger Happy or Chekhov SVK. So those are a 4 and 5 star vanilla gun, respectively. So obviously, leveled version of those guns has higher speed bonus, so you can do it even easier. It is actually interesting. You can almost break her to 7 tiles, but to do that, you need a +10 speed, which isn't possible from weapons alone, but is actually possible. So to do that, you need to equip a +9 speed gun, as well as picking up the class node on Lupita. So for Lupita, she's the spy class. Skipping ahead again, this is actually the 20th node on the spy class, so that means you've got to spend a lot of emblems to do it. But if you do pick up the speed node and equip a +9 speed gun, you can break her to 7 tiles to charge. So there's actually not very many heroes that you can do this with in the game, get down to 7 tiles. I think there's only a couple. Most of them are in red, actually. You've got Blaire, Xander, Bucky, and Lupita now in red, and I think Marigold in purple you can do it as well, but I'm not confident on Marigold. I haven't really looked at hers in too much detail. So yeah, as I said, Lupita is part of the spy class, which is a very great class. Its bonus or effect is that it can remove charge after dealing any damage. So charge control is an amazing effect. It is absolutely a arse saver on multiple occasions for me, and I really do love it. However, spy class has a lot of really great heroes in it. So you've got heroes like Goldman, Emma, Zidane. Rex is also in the spy class. So these are the sort of heroes that I'd put as high priority to Emblem. Other spies like Night Owl and stuff sort of form a second tier. Lupita, I would be very hesitant to put emblems on, and you'll understand that as we progress through this video as to why I'd be hesitant to do it. So yeah, if I was to start giving emblems to Lupita, I would be emphasizing her already large attack stat. So this is something I do for all snipers and all damage dealers. I go after that attack stat, try and make them even more damaging. So to do that, I would follow an attack path priority, and then choosing between 2 paths which both have attack, I'd pick the side that gives defense bonus rather than HP bonus. So if we followed that through, we come up with this sort of talent tree. So following this path, we go right, 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 left, right, left. So doing that, we grab 6 attack nodes, 4 defense nodes, 3 HP nodes, as well as grabbing a crit node on node 8 and the plus 4% speed node on node 20. So following that path, we come up with a total stat improvement at +20, or rather +19, because you don't need the +20 to get these stats. Anyway, we come up with a total of +97 attack, +72 defense, and +113 HP. So doing that, we end up with total stats on Lupita of 825 attack, 729 defense, and 1,478 HP. So yeah, applying a 5-star weapon, you can then easily get Lupita's attack stat up over 1,000. So that is pretty awesome. Good for war machines and that kind of thing. But again, stealing my thunder, gonna get to that later. So yeah, if we head back to Lupita's card, we're going to get to the review part where we actually look at what Lupita does. Probably the part that a lot of you actually pay most attention to. So we'll crack into that. So looking at her special skill, it is titled the Kiss of Death. And at 62 charge speed, when fully leveled at 10 out of 10, it deals 235% damage to the target, and then drains 186 HP from the target over 3 turns. The drained amount of HP is increased by 22 HP per each dead ally at the time of casting. This effect cannot be cleared, but is removed if the hero dies. We'll look at that skill in a little bit more detail in a second, but breaking that down, we can see that there are just 2 aspects to this special skill. You've got the direct damage and the drained HP. So focusing on the direct damage for a moment, we can see that it is actually quite low. It's not a very good number for a sniping hero. So if we pull that 235% out and we start comparing Lupita to some other snipers that we have available in just red, we're only looking at red heroes in this comparison. So red has a total of 8 snipers available in the 5-star bracket. So of those, if we grab all of those heroes, we get, to compare them all, we calculate what their attacking power or their effective damage dealing power would be. So doing this, we get their attack stat and multiply it by the listed percentage on their card. And running that calculation, we can come up with this list that you can see. So in that list, we see Lupita there, comes out with a total of 1,710 attack power. Unfortunately, this lands her only in 7th position. It's quite low down that list. The only heroes it's better than are Hudson, who does quite a sizable amount of DOT. You've got Blockbuster, who has an amazing defense ailment, and Xander, who is just all around a fairly poor hero of the month. So Lupita has that one up. But the others, if we look at the rest of that list, you can see that Ridge is over double the amount of damage output that Lupita is doing. So I should clarify, this is only attack power. It's not damage that gets dealt. To calculate the damage, you'd have to divide it by running into a calculation which has exponents and powers, and it factors in the defense stat and stuff. But this is how it calculates the attacking side of the equation. So yeah, as you can see, Ridge kicks out an absolutely insane amount of damage. It's closely followed by Delmar when Delmar is hitting a max charged enemy. Of the more quote-unquote normal hitters in the game, we've got Blaire, who I think is amazing. Both her base damage and her bonus damage when hitting an armored enemy are above Lupita. You've also got Wildcat, which is quite an interesting one because Wildcat is a vanilla 5-star hero. So yeah, that's the straight up list. You might be thinking though, hang on a second, Lupita is fast charge speed, so we'd naturally expect her to have a slightly lower damage output because she's fast. And generally speaking, that is true. The faster a hero is, the less insane their skill is on a single cast. So how we can sort of look at that more baseline is if we take the attack power of the hero and we divide it by the number of tiles required to charge the hero. So now we're getting something which I'm calling the speed normalized attack power, or it's essentially just the attack power per tile. So running that calculation, we remember from before, Lupita needs 9 tiles to charge. So dividing that 1,710 by 9, we come out with Lupita having a normalized attack power of 190. So again, looking at that list, it really only bumps her up 1 spot. There's a little bit of shifting lower down and not really any changes higher up, but Lupita really only gains 1 rank on that list, which is going above Delmar's base damage. So yeah, Ridge is still top of the pecking order, same with Delmar. Blaire is again really awesome, 288 and 220. So realistically, looking at Lupita just as a sniper, she has a lot left to be desired. Literally looking at the options there, you've got Blaire and Wildcat. Blaire is a seasonal hero. Wildcat is a vanilla hero. If you're wanting a red sniper, pick one of them. Yeah, unfortunately, it is just a fact for a damage output, you're better leveling Wildcat than you are to level Lupita. So, the second part of Lupita's skill there, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. This is a new mechanic to puzzle combat. So, or not actually new. It's kind of a twist on a new mechanic. So anyway, Lupita's skill, the second part is that it drains 186 HP from the target, increasing by 22 HP per each dead ally. So this skill actually does a couple things all at once. So first thing it does is it chops the health of the targeted enemy. So every turn, it's going to take 62 HP off. So that's 186 over 3 turns. So 62 per turn. The second thing it does is it actually drains that HP that it takes off the enemy and gives it to Lupita. So what this means is that at 62 HP that the enemy is losing, Lupita is gaining that 62 HP. So it's kind of a vampire-esque kind of effect, really. So it's actually kind of interesting on that side of thing. The other thing that's actually interesting about it is that the HP drained increases by 22 HP per dead ally, which is a 12% increase on the damage of that DOT per dead ally. The other really interesting thing is that the ailment is uncleansable. which means that as a cleansing player, like I often run cleansing heroes in my attack teams, I wouldn't be able to just trigger Anastasia or Bridget or Jocasta in order to remove that ailment. I'm stuck with it. I can get rid of it by either allowing it to time out, so waiting the 3 turns, or if I kill Lupita, the effect ends. So that's that last part of the skill where it says, the effect can't be cleared but gets removed if the hero dies. The hero in question there is Lupita. If Lupita dies, there's nowhere for it to drain the HP to, and thus the ailment ends. The other thing which is kind of cool with this one is you can actually cast this ailment on multiple enemies all at once. So if you've got Lupita and you manage to charge it 2 or 3 times, you can actually put it on 3 different enemies and gain 62 HP. Instead of just gaining 62, you can gain 124 or even 186 HP per turn. It all depends on how many of the opponent heroes are afflicted by her draining ailment at once. So overall, this type of ailment and this type of effect can actually be quite annoying and damaging when it's on a defending team. So picture a scenario when you've only got Lupita left. It's a war fight, let's say. So she's the only hero left alive on a clean flag. So due to that high charge speed at 62, she's going to be charging quite quickly. And every time she charges, she's going to drop this drain ailment on one of your heroes. It might be the same hero multiple times, but more likely it's going to go on to different heroes, which means Lupita is not just hurting you with her direct damage, she's then further damaging those heroes. All the while, she's healing herself. So if you equip another healing gun on her, say the Falcon Tech or the Levy gun, it's just getting to more ridiculous levels of self-healing, which is going to, for a lower rostered hero player, this could actually be quite an obstacle to overcome. And if you then chuck in their field aid as well, it kind of starts becoming ridiculous. So it's a very niche situation and application for Lupita. I definitely wouldn't be leveling a hero specifically for that application, but yeah, it is an application. So moving on from her special skill in a vacuum, if we start grabbing Lupita and we compare it to some other very similar heroes in the game, there are actually 2 which I touched on before who are extremely similar to Lupita, both in terms of their effects, their builds, and all of that. So the 2 heroes I'm going to look at are Wildcat, who is a vanilla 5-star red hero, and we're also going to look at Blaire, who is a hero of the month. Sorry, not hero of the month. She is a Halloween hero, so a seasonal hero. So if we quickly just pull up Wildcat's card, load. Anyway, we can see that, here it is. So we can see that Wildcat has very similar stats. Overall, thanks to the stat buff that SGG gave, all of the the non-vanilla heroes, which I think kind of sucks, but topic for another video. We can see that they're pretty similar, but they are on average slightly lower than what we get from Lupita. The charge speeds are almost identical. You've got 62 charge versus 61 on Wildcat, so pretty much exactly the same. In terms of the damage output, we saw earlier that Wildcat actually deals out more direct damage than Lupita, both in terms of a per cast and also on a per tile basis. So per cast, Wildcat was 3786 compared to Lupita's 1710. In terms of a per tile, Wildcat was at 222 versus Lupita's 190. So there is quite a gap in there in terms of the damage output. Where they start deviating, but are still very similar, is in the DOT damage that they do. So Lupita, as we said, has that 186 HP drain over 3 turns. Wildcat, on the other hand, has a delayed damage of 255 HP damage after 3 turns, which does boost to a massive 382 when it's on a hero with armor. So you can see that the damage, it's both over 3 turns to get the full effect, but Wildcat's is actually quite a lot higher. The big difference, though, is that Lupita's DOT is uncleansable, while you can get rid of Wildcat's delayed damage. So from that perspective, there's more damage, but there is the chance to lose the damage on Wildcat. Lupita also will heal for her DOT, But Wildcat has that target and nearby enemy dispel, which is always extremely helpful. So overall, between these two heroes, I would probably, and I hate saying this because I don't much like Wildcat as a hero, but I would say to level Wildcat before Lupita. The damage is bigger, like it's just straight out is bigger in both scenarios, the DOT and the direct damage. In attack, you can really easily control the delayed damage on Wildcat, plus you can stack that delayed damage, so you can put multiples of that same ailment on the same enemy hero. So it's bigger, it can be controlled really well to avoid it being cleansed. And then you add on to that Wildcat will dispel buffs. It makes her really very powerful in normal rating, but also in tournaments as well. So unfortunately, Wildcat is a superior hero to Lupita. If we switch over to comparing to Blaire, Blaire is in the current Halloween event portal. So she is also extremely similar to Lupita. Her stats, they're even more skewed towards attack, and hence there's actually a weaker comparison on the defense stat than Lupita has. From before as well, we saw the damage output of Blaire is extremely high. It's much higher than what Lupita is able to kick out. So the base damage of Blaire, it's only a little bit more, so 1979 compared to Lupita's 1710. Where Blaire does deviate a lot more is that she has bonus damage against armored enemies, which Lupita doesn't have. So Blaire will kick out 2588 attack power, while Lupita's still stuck at the 1710. They do also both have a DOT style effect. Lupita's is that health drain, while Blaire has a really interesting ailment which is called a Blaze ailment. So the Blaze ailment does 368 damage over 2 turns, so that's almost double the DOT that Lupita does, but it's also over a shorter duration, so it's 1 turn less. The Blaze ailment is also incredible because you're able to infect nearby enemies with it if you kill the target while they still have the ailment on them. So instead of just burning the one enemy hero, you can actually churn it through multiple enemies. Comparatively, Lupita, she's doing approximately half that DOT, but does heal herself a little bit as well. So once again, in terms of the two heroes, I look at snipers mostly from a damage output perspective, and unfortunately in that regards, Blaire is just superior, like vastly superior to Lupita. So I would recommend leveling Blaire over Lupita if you've got the two options. So unfortunately, there are not very many red heroes that I would advise leveling ahead of, advise leveling Lupita ahead of. Xander is really the only one that sticks out in my head as being a definite one to do. Hudson is questionable, but I'd still probably do Hudson over Lupita because he has a really amazing family bonus. So yeah, unfortunately, Lupita I find to be quite an underwhelming hero just looking at that sort of thing. So if we switch over to trying to look for some applications for Lupita, so looking to see where she actually might be useful, if we go through the list of aspects of gameplay, the list where she's actually good is really short, unfortunately. On defense, this is probably the best application for Lupita, which is pretty sad because I'd very rarely ever recommend leveling a hero purely for defense. So if you get to a scenario where Lupita's the last chick standing, she could really become a pain in the ass, particularly in a war setting where it's the final hero to do a clean. I went through that more earlier in the video, but that's really the best spot for Lupita is in the wing, but it's still not an amazing hero for a wing position. In raiding and war attack scenarios, I don't think Lupita will make the cut as a sniper. If you are wanting to put a sniper in your lineup, there are a lot of better heroes you can take. Her DOT is also quite small, so it doesn't really help her in the attacking scenario. So yeah, I'd probably be leaving her off a raiding or a war attack team if I had some options. On the war machine front, this is a possible good application for her. War machine attacks teams, the attack stat is actually very important. Because the higher the attack stat, the better your tile damage is, and the vast majority of war machine damage comes from the tiles. So with that really high attack stat, she does, get a bit of a nod on a war machine. However, she doesn't actually have any specialized purpose on a war machine team. So if you've got a hero that has a higher attack stat, such as Blaire, or actually has a purpose for being on the War Machine team, such as Blockbuster or Rudolph or that kind of thing, I would leave Lupita out in favour of those heroes. So, unfortunately, she's good for War Machines because of that high attack stat, but it's only because of that high attack stat. If we look at events, events, I mainly look at competition side of things. So, this is a really poor application for Lupita. Competition events, it's all about speed and killing multiple enemies as fast as you can. So, a single hitting hero is not ideal for competing in events. She could be okay for completion, but again, it's mainly there as a sniper, so she's not doing anything special as a sniper. There's better red snipers you can choose from. So from events, probably a very poor hero to choose for that side of things. In all the other aspects of PvE, so these are things like your quests and that sort of thing, she could work quite well. Again, you're mainly taking her as a hitter with a bit of DOT. So for those sort of applications, just take a different hero that's better, really. If you're wanting a healer, take a healer that heals everyone rather than just someone that heals yourself. If you're wanting a sniper, take one that just hits harder. Tournaments, the final aspect of the game and the most recent addition to the game. So this is split up again into the 3 sections. So we've got Charged Attack, Bloody Battle, and Buff Booster. So on the Charged Attack front of things, Lupita's already a fast hero. She doesn't actually gain much of a boost by playing Charged Attack. It only goes from a 62 to a 65 charge speed. So she doesn't really overclock like another hero that's got a lot slower charge would overclock their damage. So not great for Charged Attack. Bloody Battle, these are the tournaments that stop you from healing any way at all. So seeing as a big chunk of Lupita's skill is draining the HP, so healing herself, that's not going to exist in this tournament format. You're only going to get the damage component and the damage of the enemy. You won't heal her. So yeah, in terms of that, her effectiveness is actually reduced in this tournament format. Buff Booster, again, she doesn't really cast or gain any buffs from her special skill. It's only an ailment in the system. You can still use her as a damage dealer, I suppose, but again, you're better using other damage dealers. So definitely Wildcat in this scenario because Wildcat has that Dispel and more damage. So overall tournaments, she's probably lacking in all of them. So if we were to grab all of that information about what Lupita is good at, and we tried applying some rough grades to each of these categories, so using a scale of A to F, where C is average, this is my thoughts, if you will, on some grading. So I would probably give her in attack, she's either average, barely above average, or below average in just about everything. So in offense, raid and war attack, definitely think she's slightly below average in terms of a damage dealer. War machines, I put her bang on average because she doesn't actually do anything special for war machines. You'd only be taking her for her attack stat. Events, as I said, not a good hero for event competition and really not even great for completion. So I gave her a D+ there. In PvE other aspects, again, she's no better or worse than any other hero. There are better heroes who will deal more damage, so pick one of them. So again, I put her as a C grade there. In the tournament attack side of things, I gave her a D+ for Bloody Battle, a C for Buff Booster, and a C- for Charged Attack. All for those reasons listed before. On the defensive side of things, I would say she gains a little bit more of a boost in defense because of that niche wing application. So I gave her a C+ for general and raid/war defenses. In terms of the tournament defenses, Bloody Battle, again, no healing gain, so I gave her a D there. Charged Attack, I probably think she's, as I said, she's not gaining anything, so I'm going to give her a C- there. Buff Booster, again, not gaining anything, not losing anything. She can stay straight on average as a C. So overall, if we amalgamate all of that together and we apply some rough curves and stuff to it, some weighting, I come out with an overall grade of a C- on offense and a C on defense. So as I said, slightly below average overall as a hero in terms of the attacking side of things. So please note, these aren't gospel at all. These are just my thoughts. They will vary based on your own personal roster, your playstyle, and all of those sort of things. This is just my 2 cents. So yeah, that really finishes up the review of Lupita. I would love to hear your thoughts on these heroes that I do the reviews on, if you agree or disagree, if there's any applications or synergies that you can see that I've missed or I've overlooked. Please do jump and comment on this video if you haven't done so already. And if you are enjoying the video and finding it useful so far, please do hit the like and subscribe buttons. So overall, Lupita, I would say, is below average, and given that you've got a lot of other red snipers available in red, I would probably say to level one of those other snipers. So, with the conclusion of Lupita's review, that brings us to the second part, and albeit the shorter part of this review, which is of the October 2021 Weapon of the Month, which is the Spelunker 47. So the Spelunker is a green 5-star weapon. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right. I think it might be a German word, so I apologize to anyone that's got a different pronunciation, but the Spelunker gives a stat improvement of plus 228 and plus 225 defense. So that is a slight skewing towards the defense stat, as you can see, but with all the weapons, the skewing is barely existent. You may as well, you can hardly tell it's there. The two perks that we gain on the Spelunker is we gain a plus 15% resistance perk and a plus 180 HP perk. So if you watch some of my other review videos of the weapons, you can probably guess the direction that this one's going. Unfortunately, it's probably not going much uphill from the Lupita review, but we'll crack into it anyway. So resistance as a perk, it's okay. It's not fantastic. It's not game-changing or anything like that. It can be helpful, but it also can do nothing as well. At plus 15%, it's on the lower end of the scale for 5-star resistant perks. Average is about 22% bonus. The max is plus 33% bonus. So 15% is quite low compared to some of those other ones. The perk is only situationally good. It only really kicks in when you've got an ailment being cast. So things like dodge and speed and crit guns, they always are kicking in and having the chance to proc. But the resistance perk will only come in when there's an ailment being given. So it's not a bad perk, it's just limited in its application. And then because it's on the really low end of the scale of bonus that you're getting at 15%, that further diminishes its effectiveness. So resistance is okay. The percentage granted is actually quite poor. The other perk that we gain on the Spelunker is the HP perk, which overall I find this perk really poor. I think it's almost a waste of a perk on these weapons. So if we look at the Spelunker in terms of the HP that it gives compared to the average HP of heroes, the Spelunker gives plus 180 HP. The average 5-star green hero has a base HP of 1,430 HP. So that plus 180 HP that the Spelunker is giving is just a touch over 12.5%. So if we look at all of the other perks that you've got available, on average, the next worst perk increase is plus 16%, which is on the dodge guns. That's the averages, right? So the plus 12.5% increase compared to the worst other average, which is plus 16% on dodge, which is widely acknowledged, I might add, to be the most annoying and most powerful weapon perk you've got available. It's kind of just chalk and cheese. You've got a low percentage on something which doesn't really do much compared to dodge even, which is the lowest other average. All the other averages for things like crit and resistance, they're in the mid to high 20%. And then again, this Spelunker has the highest HP perk in the game, so it is better than the other HP perks you've got available, but it's still only 12.5%, so that's the max one. So it is really a horrendous perk compared to all the other perks you can gain. If it was bigger, maybe it might be better, but 12.5%, no thank you. So overall, I would say that the Spelunker, and you'll probably guess where the verdict is on this one, I think it's probably the worst available green 5-star gun. And I will go out and I will say that as of October 2021, I would say that this Spelunker is the worst 5-star green gun that you can get. That title I previously was allocating to the Warhead RPG, which is extremely similar. It also does resistance and HP, but it does plus 19% resistance and slightly less HP. So as I said, The HP is a useless perk, so I don't even consider it. So plus 19% versus plus 15% resistance. I'd take the RPG Warhead over the Spelunker. So if you do get the Spelunker, probably be grateful because you've got a fodder gun. You can sacrifice it and not lose out on anything to upgrade another gun. If you are in the very unfortunate position where this is your only 5-star green gun, please hang in there. Something better will come along, even if it's a vanilla gun, because it still will be better than the Spelunker. So it might take a while, but it'll come eventually. So yeah, I really do think that the best application for the Spelunker 47 is as fodder to max out another 5-star gun. So yeah, I think that just about finishes the content for this video. I am always keen to hear your thoughts on both the Hero of the Month and the Weapon of the Month, so either jump down in the comments of this video, drop me a comment there. I do love hearing from you guys. Alternatively, you can jump into the Discord server that I moderate and run. It is completely public. Everyone is welcome to join and jump in on the discussions there. There's plenty of good stuff in there, so do jump over there. I've added an invite link to the description of this video. And as a final shameless self-promotion, please do like the video and give it a subscribe if you are feeling especially generous. Every little bit does help me in the algorithm. So that's it for now. I will catch you guys all in the next video, but until then, I will say goodbye and catch you guys later. Cheers.